Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. There's been a lot of talk about the US election recently, but now it's time to focus on the really important stuff, which is obviously Europa League games. Rijeka against Napoli. Napoli came away with a 2-1 win against them. Very sloppy goals, one might say, but hey, here we count every single goal. But all jokes aside, yes, Napoli risked not winning this game against a very, very average Croatian team. In the end, we did. Maybe we deserved it. Maybe they deserved the draw. But really, for the first 60 minutes, the result was still in the limbo. The last 30 minutes, it was all Napoli. But before we analyze the game, let's take a look at Gattuso's starting formation. So Gattuso's starting formation was once again a 4-2-3-1. He is sticking to that. However, the people in there changed a bit. We have Maksimovic instead of Manolas, Mario Rui instead of Hizai. Then we've got in midfield a totally new midfield with Demme and Lobotka, and then up top replacing Osimhen is Petagna. On the left we have Elmas, who replaces Lozano. And this formation is actually quite offensive for several reasons. One, you've got Mario Rui on the left instead of Hizai. Mario Rui, you know he's going to push forward. You've got Koulibaly starting, which not only means that Gattuso is taking this very seriously, but as we've all seen in recent games, Koulibaly is also almost an extra man in midfield sometimes, giving some really good through balls from the middle. But as soon as this formation came out, the one thing that worried me was the Demme-Lobotka combination in midfield. I don't think they're ideal players in the middle, but one of them really did shine today. But before we analyze Demme-Lobotka's positioning and their performance in this game, let's remind ourselves that Rijeka did cause us a lot of problems at the start. You can see here a counterattack that Napoli were quite fortunate not to concede a goal in. And then a few moments later, almost an exact copy of that same action, Rijeka have another counterattack. Unfortunately, the midfield doesn't get close enough to the guy on the ball. The Rijeka player with the ball passes it to the number 7, who curls it in beautifully, and that's 1-0 Rijeka at the very start of the game. But we have to note here, Lobotka's late in arriving to the ball. He should have been there following the run of that number 7. And that's in contrast to Demme, who is in position in that instance. And that's extremely interesting because it was Demme, the midfielder, who was pushing into the box, trying to get to the end of crosses. And we see that time and time again. We see that here many minutes later. He's always doing this, and eventually this leads to Napoli's goal. And as I said, this was not Napoli's cleanest goal. Elmas sliced the ball, it went to Mertens. Mertens pulled it back to Demme, who didn't hit it that well. Maybe the keeper could have done better, maybe the defender could have cleared it, but anyways, the ball went in the back of the net. So why was Demme actually in those positions in the first place? Why was he so high up? Well, actually, that's because Napoli, as we've seen and analyzed in the video against Parma a few weeks back, in this 4-2-3-1, when they decide to be a little bit more attacking, not like how they were against Sassuolo, they actually play with a 2-3-2-3 going forward, where the two fullbacks, they push up to the midfield. One of the midfielders stays in the middle. In this case, it was Lobotka. And then the other midfielder, in this case, Demme, he pushes up alongside Mertens. This means that Napoli have 3 strikers up top. Demme, in this case, and Mertens in between the lines. And that creates a whole lot of options for the midfield 3 now of the 2 fullbacks, and in this case Lobotka, to play the ball into. And the other thing that this does is that it frees up Mertens a little bit. And then we had a few different opportunities, some with Elmas, some with Mertens, and then finally Gattuso decided to make a change, and he decided to take off Lobotka and put on Fabian. And that changed the complexity of the game because Fabian is a much better passer of the ball. He does tend to run a bit more than Lobotka, both in attack and also in covering in defense, and this really helped Napoli to get the 2-1 goal. And you can actually see here, a minute after Fabian came on the field, he collects the ball at the edge of the box, a position that Lobotka was not going into very often. He sends Mario Rui through, and then very intelligently Politano sees the space that he could exploit, gets into that position, and when the cross comes in, the defender accidentally puts it into his own goal, but that is because Politano was putting the right amount of pressure and being in the right position. But what is really interesting is that even though Napoli at this point were winning 2-1 and Fabian came on for Lobotka, so you might expect Demme to stay back a little bit, Demme still kept going forward. Gattuso didn't change his instructions to Demme. He didn't change the philosophy. Napoli kept attacking. And you can see here, first Demme, right in between the two lines of defenders and midfielders, giving a brilliant through ball to Petagna. And then a few moments later, it's him in the box getting an opportunity to score a second goal, which unfortunately is blocked. We need the midfielders to do this sort of movement because our attackers right now are not scoring a lot of goals, so we do need their support. And so now we can move on to the player ratings. Now for the player ratings, I put a 7 to Demme, 1 for the goal and 2 because he really surprised me of how well positioned he was every time. Yes, a bit risky to have him play so high up, especially when you have Lobotka as the only other midfielder who's covering. But he did exactly what Gattuso wanted him to do and even almost got an assist and almost got a second goal in the second half. So well done to Demme, and then also well done to Fabian with a 6.5. I think he deserves that. He got into the game really well, a lot of class, he controlled the tempo, a really good through ball to Mario Rui for Napoli's second goal, and he was always very careful in defense. And next, a 6.5 to Politano, not only for forcing that 2-1 goal, for being in the right position, applying the right amount of pressure, but also he was someone that was giving lots of dangerous crosses throughout the game, making a lot of runs, causing a lot of chaos in that defense, at least gaining a few corners from what he was trying to do. And that was slowly but surely building up the pressure for Napoli, which led to us winning the game. But two players that I was not very impressed with, one was Lobotka. I think compared to Demme, he really did not shine. He was the one that was supposed to be covering, yet we've suffered a lot of counterattacks from Rijeka. That is just simply unacceptable, and going forward he didn't provide much. He never verticalized the game, he was a bit slow, his teammates didn't seem to want to pass the ball to him. So not a great display by Lobotka, and in fact Gattuso took him off after 60 minutes. And then a 5.5 to Petagna. I think he could have done a lot better. There were a lot of crosses that came into the box. He basically didn't get to the end of any of those, so for me that's a 5.5. Yes, he did not do anything too bad, didn't miss a very big opportunity, but I just wanted a little bit more from him, especially considering we're playing a team who's 4th in the Croatian league right now. I thought he'd bag 1 or 2 goals, honestly. Before our coach Gattuso, I'm gonna give him a 7. I like the fact that we went ultra offensive in this game. If we don't play ultra offensive against these teams, when are we gonna do it? And these teams, we know they're gonna sit back, so we do need players like Mario Rui and Gulam on the left. We do need players like Demme and Zelinski who get into the end of crosses in the box. And Gattuso was really good at recognizing that. He was also really good at recognizing that we need Koulibaly to start. Yes, it sucks that Ramani is not playing, but we need someone like Koulibaly who, in case the game is tied or we're losing, he's able to pick out a few good passes as well. So for me, I like the approach that Gattuso did, and I like the substitutions that he made. And this puts us in a really strong position in the standings. Alright guys, so if we take a look at the standings, it is very close in this group. 3 teams on 6 points, AZ, Napoli, Real Sociedad. AZ leading because of a better goal difference, but the advantage here is that Napoli have 2 games still to play at home. We have Rijeka to play next at home, we have Real Sociedad to play at home, and then we travel to AZ to play away. So in all honesty, I do think that Napoli is in the best position right now to qualify compared to the other 3 teams, and that is extremely good news. I hope that Napoli does make it far in the Europa League. I hope we can actually sort out our qualification to the next round with a game early. That would really help us in the league, but we have to see in the next game. We can't take it lightly. We have to beat Rijeka once again. Anyways guys, that is everything from me. Let me know in the comment section what you think of this. Let me know in the comment section if you're in America and you voted Hizai for president. Smash that like button and subscribe for more Napoli talk. And as always, Forza Napoli sempre.